So in life, you will deal with two types of relationships that you have to get over, right? And this could be relationships, romantic or just friendships. And in one of them is the ones where you will deal with blatant disrespect. You'll deal with a person who doesn't know how to treat you. You'll deal with a person that will treat you with disrespect, a person who will walk all over you, a person who will take advantage of you, a person who will not treat you the way you deserve to be treated. And again, that's with kindness, that's with your best interest at heart, and that's just with a general respect that you deserve as a human being, right? And it'll be very sad because you might be at that place in your life where you're not there, you're not that evolved in your own development where you see that you deserve those things. Like, you may not think that you deserve love, you may not think that you deserve to be treated kindly, you may not think that you deserve to be treated with care, right? And because you're not there yet, because your self-esteem may not be there yet, because your confidence may not be there yet, you'll be at that place where you will see it through with that person. You will stay through the bad things, you will stay through the tough things when you shouldn't. But again, you're not at that place in your life where you have the strength to walk away. You're not at that place in your life where you've been put through it enough, or you've tolerated it enough, where you'll be sick of it. You're not sick of it enough to walk away, right? And that's something that a lot of us learn the hard way. So it's nothing to blame yourself for. But in those types of situations, even though that person doesn't deserve your tears, you'll cry anyway, because again, as a person, it's very, very hard to go through any type of disconnect from a relationship, any type of breakup, any type of end where a person that you cared for, a person that you held space for in your life, a person that, again, you tolerated all those things from, because they filled a space in your life, they filled a void in your life, they filled a place in your heart that you cannot fill yourself. And it's those relationships where, again, we have a lot of growing to do. We have a lot of nurturing to do when it comes to ourselves, where we tolerate that. And when that thing breaks, it's very hard to get over. That heartbreak is very, very extreme. And you might feel like you're dying a little bit. You might feel like you don't know how you'll get over it. But eventually, as time passes, as you learn what self-love looks like, as you retroactively reflect on what happened, as you get to that place where, the illusion kind of falls and you can say to yourself, what was that? What was I in? What was I putting myself through? What was I letting that person put me through? Why didn't I walk away? Why did I stay that long? Why didn't I see the situation for what it was? Why couldn't I see that person for who they were? Why couldn't I see that person for the bad person that they were, or, the carelessness that they had, or the lack of respect for me that they have, or the lack of the respect that they didn't have for me, or I just wasn't able to see them for the monster that they were, or again, just for the lame that they were, right? And you'll grapple with that anger, and then eventually you'll reach that place where you'll say, I love myself a lot more, or I have this confidence that I didn't have before. I have this ability to validate myself that I didn't have before. I have this ability to see myself in the way that the people who actually love me see me, myself in in a light, in a lens of goodness, see myself as a person who deserves respect, who deserves to love myself, who deserves to be loved. You'll get to that place, and when you got into that place, you'll start to care a lot less about that person who hurt you, or about that person who put you through it, or about that person who, gave you the ability to put on those rose-colored glasses. And it's a very freeing feeling when you get to that point, because it means you're able to label that relationship, you're able to categorize it as the bad thing that happened, but as the bad thing that taught me lessons, as the bad thing that I will look back at anytime I need a point of reference to say, I'm never putting myself through that again. Or because that happened, I know what to look for. I know what signs to look out for. I know what type of person to look out for. I know what I'll never put myself through again. I know what I'll never entertain again, even if in the little crumbs and specks, even in the little things, because I know what that can turn into. I've seen it. I may not have seen it before, I may not have recognized it before, but I know what it is now. And when I see that again in another person, when I see that again in the beginning of another relationship, when I see that again in the beginning of another friendship, I'm going to know that it's my cue to run, it's my cue to disconnect, and it's my cue to not engage because I've seen where it's gone before and I'm not putting myself through that again. Now I know better, or now I can see things that I didn't see before, and now I love myself enough, or I'm working on myself, but I had that respect for myself to say, never again. We're not going down that road. I've seen this before. I know this. I can smell it. Therefore, never again. And with that type of relationship, again, when you get to that point where you can disconnect, it's very freeing when you come across that healing process, because again, it's giving you so much perspective. It's giving you so much to look back at. And then there is that other type of relationship, the one where maybe it followed the one where you got out, it followed in terms of time, the one that you got out from. So first it was that bad relationship, and then now that you've loved yourself, now that you've developed that self-respect, you tried again. You tried in another friendship, or you've tried in another romantic relationship, and you have that level of discernment to know, okay, I can sense a good person in this person, or I can sense that this can be a good thing, or I can sense that this could go down a good path. And you happen to be right. You happen to run into a person where you create a relationship, where you create a friendship where there's mutual respect, where this person cares about you. This person has your best interest at heart when they make decisions. That person considers you when they make decisions. That person looks out for you. That person wants the best for you. They want you to chase your dreams. They want you to chase your goals. They want you to better yourself. They want you to love yourself. And they want that for themselves. And when you come into a relationship like that, in the midst of it, it is beautiful, right? Because again, it reminds you that you are deserving of good things because you're experiencing that type of bliss with a person, that type of bliss when it comes to a friendship, that type of bliss when it comes to, again, a romantic relationship where you can say, this is what life is about. It's about connecting with people who are amazing, and they're amazing in their own right, and they also make me feel good about myself, and they also give me the ability to see the good in myself, right? And sometimes, unfortunately, even with those types of relationships, when you are with that good person, things might not work. And it might be a thing or two, it might be the small things, but it might be things that you're not able to overlook. And these can be things that come down to compatibility, or they can come down to life path. You guys just want different things. You require a career that will, you want a career that will require you to move to another place, but they may not be able to because maybe it'll affect the things that they want to do with their life, or vice versa. Or maybe you have a certain vision for marriage, or for children, or for what a family looks like, and they may not have the same thing, right? Or you have a certain ambition or a certain dream that you want for yourself that maybe that person isn't able to see for themselves, right? In the context of romantic relationships. And when you get to that crossroads, it's very difficult because you're faced with the question, but what do I do with this? Because again, this person is not a bad person. This person loves me. This person cares about me. This person wants the best for me, and I want the best for them. But here we are. So why won't it work? Why can't it work? And that's when it begins to evolve into this thing where it becomes less enjoyable. It becomes something where the previously existing goodness may not be as prominent anymore, or it may have withered, or it may have, run its course. And it may get to a place where that resentment starts to build up because you guys want it to work so bad, but it just can't, because although 90% of it is amazing, although 99% of it is amazing, although they may be amazing all around, those things are not the typical compromises. Those things are major life decisions or major life desires, major life needs, major life requirements, that you cannot look past, that they cannot look past. And the conclusion of it is that you have to part ways. You guys have to break up, or you guys have to disconnect. It can't be sustained anymore. And when you get to that position, it is brutal. It is brutal because, again, you went into that relationship thinking, you know what, I know what a bad thing is. I'm not going to tolerate that again. Then you're faced with a person who confirms that there are good people out there, that there are good relationships to be had, that there are good friendships to be had, and that, you know, life is very much worth living when it comes to the realms of connecting with people, right? And when it gets to that place, you don't know what to do. The mental gymnastics you will do, the overthinking you will do, the overanalyzing, because you can't fathom that this person that you care about so much, this person that you love so much, doesn't fit into your life. And it is very heartbreaking when you get to that place, because you're kind of left with, well, what now? Then you scour the right person, wrong time, you scour the different scenarios, the different options, in what ways will it work? But no matter how hard you try, or no matter how many paths you explore, no matter how much extra time you give it, weeks, months, years, at the very end, you will realize that it's not meant to work, because those are things that you guys just cannot get past. And when you do get to that very, very end point conclusion where it has that nail in the coffin, it will be devastating. But it being devastating doesn't mean you didn't make the right decision. It actually means that you're a very, very, very strong person. It means that you're a person who has been able to get to a point in their life where you can truly, truly see that your life deserves intention, that your life deserves good intention, that your life deserves to map out in a way where you can garner peace for yourself, right? And sometimes peace means making a hard decision, like walking away from something, even though you really, 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 really didn't want to walk away from it. Even though it seems so counterintuitive to walk away from it, even though it has so many advantages, it has so many pros, it has so many surface level reasons or even deeper reasons that will convince you to say, I should try again, or maybe it'll work this time, or maybe we can do something else. And it's so convincing, but then again, you'll be met with the reality that it just can't work. But again, for you to be able to see past that, for you to be able to get to a point where you can make that decision, that means it is worth sustaining. That decision is worth standing on. That decision is worth proceeding with, because at the end of the day, you know, deep, deep, deep down, there's nothing that can really change it. And then you are met with the reality that sometimes good people, great people, again, people that you care about, people that you love, will just be in your life for a certain season, and again, for a certain reason. And when you get to that place of heartbreak, or you get to that place in the process where, you know, you're bargaining, or maybe you feel like you've already gotten over it and you have to replay it again, or you have to maybe go over it again, or maybe you thought you got over it, but then you're reminiscing, you know, you have a memory that reminds you of that. Maybe you listen to a song, maybe you're going through the park, maybe you're going to a place that you guys used to eat, and you'll question yourself, and you'll ask yourself, you'll say, did I make the right decision? And then you'll be able to, thank God, look back at that point in your life where you were tolerating a way of life where you didn't respect yourself, where you didn't have your own best interest at hand when you made decisions. And although that point in your life where it was really bad, you were tolerating the worst, isn't the same scenario with this person, it did involve you betraying yourself, betraying your needs, betraying your desires. And that's something that can happen even in scenarios with good people. And when you recognize that that person isn't permanent, or that person was just, again, a great person, a person that you were able to experience, you'll be able to transition to looking towards the future with hope, with excitement, and with just an appreciation that there are good people out there, that there will continue to be good people out there. And you'll say, thank God that person came into my life to show me that. And thank God I had the recognition to know that it didn't work out for a reason. And that if it was supposed to work out, it could. And if it was supposed to work out, it would. And if we could try again, the divine will make the way. And it's hands off. Or that I don't have to see it like that. I don't have to buy into this idea of right person, wrong time. And when you get there and you reflect and you start to accept the situation for what it is, that is a different type of freedom that you wouldn't think you'd be able to get to. You thought freedom was being able to make that choice where you could do something bad. Yeah, I'm telling you, when you get to that place where you're able to walk away from something that may have had almost everything you wanted, and you're able to say, you know what, this still isn't for me, that is crossing over into a place where you have completely acknowledged yourself as a person who should be able to experience the best, get the best, and experience creating the life that you want. No sacrifices, no big sacrifices, no big compromises, no resentment for yourself for making decisions that you feel like you shouldn't make for another person, or resenting that other person for forcing you into making a decision that you didn't want to because you wanted it to work. And if you are in that position where you feel like you're backtracking, or you're feeling like you didn't make the right choice, or you're feeling like I wish it could work, I'm telling you right now, if it was supposed to work, it would. And something working out, again, doesn't mean you breaking your back, you bending over, you doing all these things, all these mental gymnastics, all these things that will stress you because you're compromising, you're trying to make it work. That's not what making it work is. If you have to stress yourself out, if you have to be at a place where you're starting to experience resentment, you're at a place where you have to be in denial about what's going on, trust me, that's not making it work. I know that's a definition that a lot of people have when it comes to making it work. That's not it. That's not what it is. And just like you were able to come out of that first situation where you were able to see the brighter side of learning to love yourself because you saw all the BS and you said, I'm never dealing with that type of person again, I deserve better, you will get to that place with this person too, where you'll say, that was a good person, but that was not the right situation. And I deserve to put myself in a situation, I deserve to experience a situation where we can all be happy, where I can be happy, where we don't have to strain ourselves, where we don't have to, again, bend over backwards to make something work that is overstaying its welcome, right? And that's the thing. A lot of situations, they're seasonal. And seasonal doesn't mean that that person wasn't important. Doesn't mean that that relationship wasn't important. It doesn't mean that you don't care about that person. That's not what it means at all. It just means that sometimes, just like lessons, just like jobs, just like careers, just like the bad people in your life, these good people will come into your life and they will teach you what it's like to experience good things. They will teach you what it's like to learn to love yourself, right? Just all the good things that you deserve in small doses. And it might not be a permanent situation, but that's okay. And it doesn't mean you have to try to force it to be a permanent situation. And so if you are struggling with this, I promise you, it gets so much better. I'm making this whole video because this is something that I experienced. I experienced dealing with people who did not care about me, dealing with people who took advantage of me, dealing with people who didn't have my best interest at heart, dealing with people who were selfish. And then I experienced being in a scenario with a person who cared. And then I experienced heartbreak in both, and I experienced the heartbreak and trying to reconcile something, trying to reconcile a good thing, and trying to spin it, so that it would work, and realizing that it couldn't over a long time period. I did all of that, and being on the other side of it now, I have a lot of care for that person, but I am in a place where I now look forward to what the rest of my relationships will hold, the new people I will meet, the new the new blissful experience that I can experience, right? And I'm very thankful for it. But I would not be in this place if through this whole process, through, looking back at everything that happened, I would not be in this place if I didn't get to that point where I could reflect and I could heal and say, that was just for a time, that wasn't anything permanent. And just because that person was a good person doesn't mean that they are my person or a lifetime person, right? And I think there's a quote along those lines somewhere. But I'm now so, so excited for who I will meet. I have so much relief to get to a place in my life where I can say, thank God I love myself enough to know that certain situations were what they were. They held their place in my life for a reason. They showed me lessons, they showed me development, they gave me the opportunity to learn, and now I can go forward and make the best decisions for myself. The decisions that won't cost me my peace, the decisions that won't cost me my self-respect, the decisions that will allow me to value my time. And you can't learn these lessons, you can't get to this place unless you accept everything that happened in your past for what it was. And that means putting the correct label on something. And it's very hard. I know it's very hard to label those good people in your life, those good relationships, as something that you have to write off. But I'm telling you, when it comes to writing it off, that doesn't mean that they're not good, right? That's not what it is. It just means that they cemented themselves at that point and they can't go any further. And it's a process, but I'm telling you, once you get to that place, it is freedom. So don't hurt yourself trying to overanalyze something. You just have to recognize that it's heartbreaking. You have to recognize that it hurts, but you also have to tell yourself that this is something that will pass, and this is something that you'll get through. This is something that you will overcome. I'm telling you, as a person who's been there, as a person who's been through these situations, again, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and as a person who did not think I'd be able to get to a place where I've gotten over them, now that I can look at them with appreciation and I can look at the future with eagerness, this is freedom. So don't rob yourself of it. Don't delay it. Don't let it run past over time. Don't let it run longer than it needs to. Healing is healing. Healing takes time. I understand that. But you will delay your healing. You will prolong it if you keep mislabeling this relationship, when you know deep down that, again, it wasn't supposed to work, and that's fine. That doesn't mean that it didn't work too. It worked for its time, it worked for that period, and that's that. So this is a message to you to say, you got this. It's only up from here. Be patient with yourself, but also be very, very intentional with your thoughts and how you process these things.